Welcome to Monday Motivations, 52 Weeks to a More Purposeful You. Corry Mendoza here, and this week we have Rick Rummelhart. And Rick, we've been friends. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So we've been friends for a couple years now, and I just have to say, Rick is one of the most unique people I have ever met. He's so
Wow.
Yeah, you are.
No,
You really
that's amazing.
are. I haven't probably told you directly some of the things that I feel compelled to share, but Rick is one of the most chill dudes you'll ever meet. Has such a wide range to who he is as a person. He's like a bro, he's a man's man. Like, he gets along great with my husband Rusty. And then he's also very creative and loves kids, animated. You're so connected with people. I'm really excited to have him on the show. We're going to be talking about help today. And right before we got started, he was like ready to go. So I said, let's hurry and just record, because if we start talking about the topic, we'll never record. But for those of you who don't know Rick, here's a little bit about him. I'm going to paraphrase his bio. So Rick studied creative writing and marketing at San Francisco State University, and got a bachelor's degree in both of those. He worked for 22 years for Yellow Pages, selling advertising services to small and medium-sized businesses. And Rick really does have a unique knack when it comes to understanding different sized businesses. He also, something really cool, he has been a sales manager, but the unique thing that I've always found so fascinating was he owns candy stores.
That's true.
Yeah, so named after your son, Sawyer. So his candy stores, they're called Sawyer Sweet Spots. And just I've seen him dressed up as a clown. I've seen him do all kinds of events for these candy stores in Woodland and Yuba City. And recently he launched a marketing business, Rickstart Marketing. And
That's right.
yeah, and my husband Rusty's done some great work with Rick. We just really appreciate you. So thank you for being on the show and talking about help today.
Corey, thanks for that intro. You nailed it. Oh my goodness. Make me feel so good.
Oh,
All
well,
right.
you are so good.
Thank you.
Wow. It makes sense that you have candy stores, because you're very sweet. You're very grounded. Just a great person. Really,
Yeah, that
really.
all comes full circle, doesn't it? Yeah, there's definitely some relations. And the candy stores, I think, come into play in today's topic that you have in mind as well.
Oh, well, let's get started. What did you get out of the topic?
It's all about help and giving the verbal feedback to others, the mental feedback in a positive light, and projecting that on others. That speaks volumes for what I do, because I have to really put a lot of trust in people in many facets of my life, especially in the candy stores, because I have employees and they're running all the operations. There's two stores, one in Yuba City and one in Woodland, California. And I can't be at both places at once, right? So I'm relying on young employees. These are generally teenagers, maybe some college kids. I do have one who's a mom, who's a little older than being a teenager, which is great. But I have to rely on them to get the things done, to make sure that the customers are getting taken care of. And so they need great feedback from me, right? And so there's a lot of talk out there how teenagers don't want to do anything, they don't want to work, they're lazy. I could eat that up, I could project that on, and I'm like the writing says, if I, let's say, throw that back at the universe, it's very likely that's what I'm going to get. I don't want that. So it's very important that I keep a very positive mindset out there. And there's challenges for me that I deal with every day And one of the nice things about coming on to your show today is that I get a reminder of the things that I need to do to mentally prepare myself on a daily basis so that I'm staying positive. Our stores have been around for 6 years. And through that time, I've had to deal with employees that stole, employees that weren't being honest. And I can't project that on all my employees just because maybe they're of a similar background or they're young, unexperienced. And so I have to remember that it's important that I'm the leader of the business. I have to help build the characters of my employees. And so that reading that passage that you sent me was very, very meaningful and purposeful in figuring out how I can better myself to do that. So I really appreciate that so much.
Man, you said so many powerful things in there. I think a lot of people listening, when you were talking about the how people perceive teenagers to maybe be lazy or unmotivated, especially this generation, there's a lot of perspective around how teenagers are. Can you maybe share a little bit more about the type of perspective you work towards holding when you're building their character?
Yes, absolutely. And I should give out some positive words out there right now since I was talking some negatives there, right? Got to clear the mind and talk about I have such a great staff right now that's highly motivated. So at my Yuba City store, for instance, there's a gal that had come in a couple of times and she was she seemed to be a little distressed. So we were able to have a conversation about what was going on. So she had some personal issues, and I was able to tell her, hey, no problem. I don't want that to have to affect you, and I want you to know that I'm here to support you. And if you need to take extra time off, for instance, please feel free to do that. When you come to work, I want you to be able to be focused. And if you aren't able to do that right now, please take care of what you need to do. And I found that she was pretty uplifted by that. Her situation was such that she was in a position where she would open or close the store sometimes by herself, and she was starting to feel uncomfortable for whatever her personal situation was doing that. And I said, no problem. We'll make adjustments for you. That made her feel that, wow, hey, there's my boss. He's being a team player. And I saw a difference in performance. And soon things passed and it was back to normal. And I think a lot of that had to do with me being there listening, being able to give a positive self-worth to her. And it was empowering for her too. And I told her that, hey, I trust you to run things. You've obviously shown that you know what to do and that you're capable. And I really appreciate that. And so let's keep it going. So that makes me so comfortable. Again, when I have the stores open, it's like the store's a baby that never grows up. It always needs care and guidance.
Yeah.
And that could really weigh on someone's mind, especially for me, where I just really absorb myself in the work as I should, right? This is my business. And I need to know that it's taken care of so that I could relax in other aspects of my life, such as the relationship that I have here at home and the kids here that need attention to and help. It's hard to give that kind of attention when you have a lot of distractions. So, staying mentally prepared is important. There are some aphorisms that I was taught in sales training through the years that apply as well to the topic. And one of those that has stuck with me, we had a sales trainer a long time ago, and he taught this, and the phrasing was, what the mind dwells on, the body acts on. We move in the direction of our most dominant thoughts. And at first, I didn't know what he was talking about. And I had to absorb that a lot because I was in a position where I was going to be the sales trainer for the organization I was working for. And I would have to teach the methodology that was being taught. So I had to really take some time to think about that statement. What the mind dwells on, the body acts on. And in the passage that you and I went over, it talks about, again, if you have negative thoughts, you're projecting that, you're going to be influencing people in your setting in a negative way. And you might not even know you're doing it. So every single word that you use, you're saying that on purpose, right? Nothing is said. This was another aphorism that came from that training. Nothing is said on accident. I was like, what do you mean nothing is said on accident? Sometimes I might yell out, oh, darn it, or maybe a swear word, right? If something's going wrong and you're in a stressful situation. Well, the trainer said, that's right. You might do that. And you said that for a very specific reason. And it might not even be something that you're conscious of, but it's a subconscious thing. And if you find that you're using word choice that isn't appropriate, you need to dwell on that and figure out, is there something subconsciously going on in your life? Mm-hmm. And you change that because, again, the words are the windows to one's highly held thoughts and beliefs. All these things that are coming back to me from that sales training now, it's so appropriate for today's discussion. And it was you didn't know I had all that stuff prepared, but it was like, wow, Corry, you just it was kind of a softball for me there. This topic.
It was
I could talk forever about this stuff.
Oh yeah, when we first met, I remember we were just geeking out on all the similar books we had. And some of them, it was like you and Rusty had the books, and some of them was I had the books. But
yeah,
we've been drawn to a lot of the same books or authors, podcast speakers. You said so many great things. Man, I want to make sure that we highlight some of the cool things that you said. You were talking about, because our topic is help. And in here, the very opening sentence says, create an environment that brings out the best in others. And you had talked about your candy stores and employees maybe not performing, and how you had these conversations with this one in particular. You guys found a solution. She felt supported. And how another thing that you mentioned was that you realized that you are the leader, and so the leader helps build the character of other people. You also mentioned about managing distractions so that you can trust the staff at the candy stores and then invest in your relationships at home. I feel like that's a big challenge for many of the people that are going to be listening, because for those that are entrepreneurial, whether it's in the real estate industry or running their own businesses, or I think that once you're in a pretty high level of leadership at work, it does become fairly entrepreneurial in the sense that you own it. It is your baby. If
that's
you're
right.
at a team, it's your baby. The organizations, and we start to just carry all these things. So I know that you've grown a lot as a leader just from perspective on the sidelines. What do you, with this topic of help and thinking about how you've grown as a leader at work and in your home, what are some new nuggets of wisdom or awareness that have kind of been birthed through this experience the past couple of years?
For me, in the relationship side of things, throughout my life, I've been married twice, right? So, and divorced twice, and that's a negative check mark.
Hey, we're in the same box, just so you know. We're in the same. Yeah.
I know, right? And there was a lot of learning from that. in terms of, and I see that in your relationship. I really appreciate the kind of relationship that you and Rusty have built on communication. And Lauren and I, that's my current girlfriend Lauren here, we are working on just that. And she's gone through a troubled marriage in the past as well. And both of us realized that it's communication in terms of helping one another grow into the next chapter of our life. We don't want to duplicate the mistakes that we made. But it's easy to fall into pre-existing patterns without even realizing. As you said, being an entrepreneur has so many challenges. It might be that's your only income source. And so it's very precious to you in that you don't want to lose that, or you need to grow that, but that could become all encompassing. And I know that I was told before that I'm a workaholic, and I would readily admit I was. I would sometimes stay in the office until 1 a.m. on days that I started at 7 a.m. And that's not good for family life. So you have to be able to accept feedback from others just as well as give feedback to others that's constructive. Because without that, it's possible that you aren't going to be able to see the way you're influencing other people. So you got to stay open-minded. I really, really try to be as open-minded as I possibly can. And I know that there's still work to be done on that. We all have to work on ourselves every day. I once took, I don't know what the course was, but early on, one of our sales offices, it was in Bakersfield. This is when I was in the Yellow Pages. They were doing a little sales training with the team, and I was just there observing as a trainer. And they did a personality quiz, right? And after I took it, it revealed I'm a perfect melancholy. So anyone out there that knows whatever report has the perfect melancholy result, that's whatever the quiz was. And I thought, oh, perfect melancholy. I can actually see that. Okay. I knew it was going on, but in situations such as that, sometimes you don't realize it until you actually can get a definition of it, right? And once you get that definition, then it's a lot easier to take a look at problems that might arise from that. In a perfect melancholy, that personality is someone that likes to seek perfection. So they have a tough time moving on to another project, or sometimes even completing a project because it's not perfect, right? And you'll never reach perfection. And because it's difficult or impossible even to hit that level of perfection that one expects, it tends to make them feel a little down when things don't go as planned. And I noticed that for me. I put plans in order, and if one thing was out of whack, I'd get pretty bent out of shape about it. So I've been building on that. It's still something that will haunt me today sometimes too.
Well, it's funny because so for one, since I've known you, I've seen you and heard you, and even things that Lauren tells me, all I know about you is that you're so positive.
Right.
And I kind of hear you saying that really brings me some inspiration and encouragement, and I think it does our listeners, is that it's something that you've worked on. And maybe
Yes.
because if your natural personality is melancholic, which I vaguely remember that assessment when I was a kid, my mom did it, and I think
Yeah.
I'm sanguine. I'm gonna have to look that one up. It's an old
Yeah.
one. I think it went through a lot of the churches back in the day or something.
Okay.
But anywho, so the fact that you are able to thrive and have some stretch beyond your natural personality style is encouraging. The other thing is that just a little phrase where you were saying, when we're able to define something, we can work on it. And I had a podcast guest, Craig, a few weeks back. He said, where there's a lack of definition, there can be a distortion.
Oh, yes, that's
And
good. That's a really good statement.
I like that one. And then also, if you name it, you could tame it. So it's like,
Yes,
once we could name, this is the communication pattern breakdown we're having, or this is the mindset I'm slipping into. It's like, as soon as we name it without criticism and judgment, but just like, we're just naming it, then we
sure.
create from there. We can build upon that. So
And sometimes my ego takes over and says, I don't need to define it. I know what I'm doing. I know what I do. I know who
and
I
I
am.
know why I'm doing it.
I know why. Yeah, but do I really know why?
Yeah.
That's where you got it. You really should take time to define what's going on and try to find some meaning in that.
Yeah.
You
So
were asking a little more. I just wanted to comment about help too, since again, that's the main topic. And I wanted to just discuss a little bit about what I do with your husband, Rusty.
yeah,
And he was looking for help marketing himself in loans as a loan officer. And I took on that responsibility, and he was gracious enough to trust in me as I was starting to build my new business, Rickstart Marketing. And the whole perfect melancholy definition comes in there, because when Rusty and I talked, I so want to be the one that just helps him get to the top of the mountain, because he has really high aspirations. And it's so difficult because we're in a market phase for his business that took a crazy turn. And
mm-hmm.
there was extraneous sources that really started drying up potential clients because of the rise of interest rates, right? And I took it to heart. I almost felt like, shoot, did I do that? I must have messed up somehow. And I made these darn interest rates go up. And that's
The
where the
whole
melancholy.
nations, the whole nation.
That's right. That's right. So loan officers, I'm sorry, you could blame me. But Rusty is so gracious in that we actually went and pivoted,
Mhm.
because he was feeling the heat from that too. And I take it so personally as well, because I'm passionate about what I do. I want to be very helpful. And we're working on a new top secret project right now.
I know.
But he's about it, I'm sure,
Oh yeah,
right? Because you guys
yeah,
are good at sharing.
yeah.
But I don't know if he's ready for the public to know about it.
Probably
But
not. Probably not.
it was a nice pivot, and what a mind your husband has. So
Yeah.
he's got some really great ideas, and I'm really blessed to be able to have met both of you through Lauren. So this
Mm.
is great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you're a blessing to Lauren, to all three of the girls, to the extended
Mhm.
family, to us. And it's just been awesome to get to know you. And I'm looking forward to all the help to come.
That's right.
So, kind of one more quote from the book, and then we'll start to wrap this up. I quoted in here Gandhi's quote, "Be the change that you want to see in the world."
That's a great quote too.
Yeah, such a powerful quote. When you think of help, both being on the receiving end of help and then being on the giving end of help, and then that whole "be the change you want to see in the world" quote, what comes up for you?
As a leader, that speaks volumes, right? You want to set by example. I think bad leadership is someone that is going to say, do as I say, not as I do, right? You're not really setting the example. It creates the cognitive dissonance in the people that are relying on your leadership.
Mhm.
Let's take the stores, for example. I'm going to ask employees to clean bathrooms and things like that. But if I'm going to ask them to do that, am I willing to take on that kind of responsibility as well? I better be. I think that's important. And so I'll do that. I'll take out the trash. I'll do the little things that I don't really want to have to do, but I want to show how it should be done and how it should be done right. And I should always be willing and able to do that. As a sales manager, it was the same thing. Can I go out and help people sell without being willing to take on the sale itself? Not very effectively. So there's always that distinction too between being a manager and being a leader. And I think that a leader has to be able to manage. Not all managers are good leaders, but I think good leaders also have to be able to manage as well.
Mhm.
So you have to be all encompassing. And so in the sales, in a lot of the sales situations that I was taking part of, we'd go out in the field with the reps and I'd be riding side by side. And sometimes I'd take over the entire sales call, complete the contract, and they get all the credit. And that's okay, because that's how
Mhm.
they learn. And sometimes they needed a little extra effort, a little push, because there were people that sales is it's a tough situation. People are fearful
Mhm.
of messing up, the fear of the unknown a lot of times, right? And
Rejection.
that's right, the fear of rejection, and fear stops action. So they would start speaking and pause. They don't know where to go. And I'd pick it up and I'd try to get them engaged in the conversation again. I learned that when I was a new sales rep 22 years ago, never having done sales. And believe it or not, Corey, I thought of myself as an introvert there. I really didn't like public speaking. I really didn't like getting out there and talking to strangers. And that's all it was in sales.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even say my name the first time my manager said, "Now you give it a try."
You were like, ah.
I was. And after a week of that, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Wow. But lo and behold, I stuck with it. And it's through practice and through repetition. You have to overcome those fears.
I
As a good
know.
leader, oh,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Well, I know so many people, I have to like pause on this little cul-de-sac here because so many people like this, there's this big difference between introverts and extroverts, and a lot of kind of like what you said, what the mind dwells on, the body acts on.
Mhm.
If introverts believe that sales is not a right avenue for them or that they can't do it, then they'll be limited from that type of work. And you're a perfect example. You thrived in sales once you found your authentic way to do that. And then, same thing for extroverts. I remember, I'm an extrovert, and I remember when I was going through coaching training, and one of the weekends, it was the whole weekend was around listening. And actually in the leadership training, we had a 24-hour day when they told us that we wouldn't be able to speak. And when
Oh,
it was an activity. And I remember when they said that, I had a visceral reaction and I like gasped. And then I just like tears just started dripping down my face. And just hearing that we were going to go that long without speaking, my brain was like, you're going to fail. Like, it's not like you talk so much, it's not so
What a test. So you had to go about your day for 24 hours
without talking.
not talking. So
Yeah,
you had to be mute the whole day.
yeah. There was 26 people in my leadership that we were called tribes. So we had 26 people for an 11-month leadership program. And once a quarter, we would meet for 5 or 6 days and then learn all kinds of amazing leadership things. But one of these days, I think this particular 6-day retreat, it was leading from self, leading from others, leading from your environment, and then the fourth one was leading from the whole and putting it all together. So this was that first 6-day retreat, and it was leading from self. And yeah, the introverts were like, score, easy, you don't have to tell me twice. Are we only doing 24 hours?
Sure.
Let's go
Right.
longer.
I know.
But yeah.
I
So
think modern technology really helps out with that. There's so many different ways to communicate now.
yeah.
But one day you'll have to tell me more about that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'd love to hear about how you handled those 24 hours.
Well, let's just say that I had victory and success through my imperfect 24 hours. Words came
So
out.
you cheated. Oh
No, I
no.
didn't cheat. Words came out of my mouth a good 3 or 4 times. And it was like,
You just couldn't help it.
I couldn't help it. But
Gotcha.
I
That's
spoke
probably part
less
of the
that
exercise, right?
day than any other day of my life. So,
Yes. Yeah.
including my birth, because I had colic as a baby, so I was
Oh my.
crying the first 6 months of my life. So,
Whoa. Oh boy.
oh,
You
so
know that the interesting thing about me feeling that I'm an introvert is that most people are shocked when they hear that.
mhm,
But that's how I perceive myself, and I've worked to try to change it for my whole life, really, because and this is what I like about podcasts like this. All right, I get to shout out to the public the things that are bothering me, and then that helps change it, right? Because we're in a way we're defining it, like we talked about before. But I always battle with my fears, and in anything you do, it's always the balance between fear and desire, which is greater, right? If your fear is greater, it's going to stop your action or cause some fear-based reaction. Or if your desire is greater, then you might then you will go forward through what you might not normally go through. And even to this day, I do struggle with that. And for my new business venture, I'm going to have to become that salesperson again. I'm going to have to wear all the hats, right? So one of the hats is salesperson, at least for a while, until I build up a staff. And that means I have to challenge myself again, because I haven't been on that stage in a long, long time as just a pure salesperson. And so those fears for me, they always tend to build up, and they become so big because we let them become big.
mhm.
So see, help comes around again, because this podcast, it helps me
Yeah,
identify that, right? It's
yeah,
great. That's great.
yeah,
But nothing happens without action, right? All
right.
the greatest plans and dreams that you might have without implementing action, they go by the wayside.
Mhm. Well,
Well, and here's another aphorism for your fans to think about too. In order to get what you want or say you want, you first must be willing not to have it at all. That one is a big thing. What does that mean to you, Corry?
I like this. I really like
So
it.
in order to get what you want or say you want, you first must be willing not to have it at all.
I really like this. It so what this means to me is, if I just want something, then like it's almost like giving away my power. It makes a feeling of desperation, like striving. But if I recognize that I want something and then I embrace the possibility of not having it. I call that, I use this phrase a lot with my clients. We have to be willing to grieve reality.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so to just get in touch with, okay, well, what if I never have this? And I've actually used this in some very painful, tragic losses in my life. What if I could never get this situation fixed? I had some very painful things with my children, and I did not get what I wanted. And it's part of now our family history. It's part of their childhood. It's part of who I am as a mom. And being able to grieve that reality gives me liberty to embrace, well, what can this become without what I wanted?
Absolutely. You said that so well. Bravo. Brava. Which is it? Brava. I agree with you on that. And that's how I take that as well. If you can't embrace the chance that there could be failure or success, you're not going to pursue it, right? And then you're never really going to get it anyway.
And I think that's when the fear grips us, because
yes,
we're more afraid of not having it than we are
yeah,
of being sober in the fact that I might not go for, I mean, think of like Olympic gold medalists. I mean, they're going for the gold, and to win, it's like the competition is fierce.
yeah. We're talking fractions of a second difference
Yeah.
in the gold and the silver, right?
Technicalities, I mean,
Yeah,
all kinds of stuff. So yeah, so it takes pure courage, authenticity, vulnerability, clarity of mind
yes.
to be able to go for it. And just know, I mean, it's a risk. So there's this movie, I'm gonna watch it again. It's about a guy who walked a tightrope. I think it's called The Walk.
Oh, I haven't watched that.
Oh my gosh, it's a great movie, but it was his love and his passion to walk a tightrope. And he actually walked a tightrope between the Twin Towers before they
Wow.
yeah, were bombed or crashed into. I mean, so but it's like a lot of times really living an alive, fierce, bold life and going towards our dreams, our passions, our goals, it will feel like a tightrope because we're risking it all to go for it. But what is
Mhm.
the alternative? We listen to the doubt, the fear, and then we go, I'm gonna play it safe. I'm not gonna take a risk. And
Right.
like,
And then you're not going to do it.
yeah,
And what does that do to affect you down the road
right.
when you keep thinking, oh, I should have done this or I should have done that?
Yeah. So as we close out our talk on the topic of help, what I always like to ask the last question of what is the advice you give yourself and you hope to inspire others on this topic?
I wrote on my dry erase board, the kinder I am to myself, the better I will feel. And that's one of the ways that I try to help myself is to remember that. I could really beat myself up over errors that I made in judgment on a particular project or taking a left instead of a right in a business decision or how I handle the situation at the candy store. And that's not going to help me grow. So I I am working on making sure that I acknowledge to myself it's okay. It's okay that a mistake is made. It still fits into that perfect melancholy kind of situation, right? Because
Right.
it's okay not to have perfection. It's okay to just start taking one step forward at a time. And
Mm.
I have a lot of projects that I line up in the candy stores and the marketing business. and I could get flustered in moving forward, because those are some of them are pretty big projects, and if I don't start somewhere, I keep just spinning the wheels on the project. So
Mhm.
I have to be okay just making little strides, and it's not gonna look perfect
Mhm.
at first,
Mhm.
but if I do that, I always find that I'll get there. And the one last thing, I was driving Lauren crazy playing this silly game. It's these numbers that you keep multiplying them, combining tiles, and you're supposed to get to this tile called 2048. And I first came across this game on our plane ride home from Hawaii, and then I saw it available on my phone, and I couldn't, for the life of me, get to that tile. And I thought, this is so stupid. I was it was becoming all encompassing, and I was like, okay, I'm such a failure if I can't figure this game out. I've gotta, come on. I gotta be smart enough to figure this game out. And it was starting to, get back down to the roots of my whole situation I discussed earlier. Well, yesterday, Corey, I mastered it and I hit the 2048 tile. So I overcame the problems I had with that. I feel really good today.
Wow.
I'd
And
like to say
how many weeks ago was that? You guys went in.
that was 2.5 months ago, maybe more.
Wow. Wow.
And I wasn't playing the game like all hours of the day, but
But every
sometimes
day.
at night, not every day necessarily, but
It's
enough
just
Lauren would see it on the screen and she'd say, not that again. I said, I will master this game. I will figure it out.
Oh.
But hey, I made it. What the
Hey,
mind dwells on, the body acts on. And
yeah.
so it taught me, hey, I can still learn new things. Great.
Yes, you can. Well, and I think that story is a testament to the kind of person that you are, that
Mhm.
you have a lot of tenacity, you have grit, and you keep going and you overcome and you achieve. And so, for anyone listening that wants to get in touch with Rick, what's the best way that they can contact you? Website?
Let's use my email address,
Okay,
rickstartmarketing@gmail.com.
that's easy.
You could all Yeah, you could also find information about our candy stores at sawyersSweetSpot.com
Oh, yeah. The
if
kids
you're
love it.
local to Yuba City or the Woodland area. And we'll have some great events coming up in
Yeah.
Halloween. I think we're doing a Harry Potter Halloween this year by popular request. We did that the first year we opened, and so we're gonna plan some great surprises there. Should be fun.
Awesome. Awesome. Well,
Yeah,
thank you so much. I got so much out of this. I took a bunch of notes. And there's some little nuggets that I'll be incorporating in my life for sure. So, everyone, thank Rick for being on the show, and we will see you all back next week for Monday Motivations. Take
thanks, Corey. I
care. Thank
really appreciate it.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.